And that's also extremely important, to add, whether you're 25, 35, 15, 85 years old, is what you put in, right, also comes out. And so if you want to, end up in a successful way, not only do you have to act a successful way, you have to put into your mind, and so on a daily basis, as I told you, I pray every morning. And if that works for people, I suggest it. In addition to that, I listen to, different things every morning from different people to help get my mind going with positive incantations. And I end my night every night as well with things that I want to put in my mind.
This podcast is brought to you by ISU Corp. Are you having trouble with your software projects? Is there a project that's taking too long or a technology you can't handle? We can help. We are ISU Corp, experts in custom software since 2005. With almost 20 years of experience, we can solve any technical problem from new businesses to satellite software. We've done it all. Let us turn your ideas into reality. Learn more about how we can help by visiting us at www.isucorp.ca. Your solution starts here.
Welcome to another great episode of the Break Free podcast. I am your host, David Mancela. Today, we have with us an exceptional person that decided to change his life career in order to add maximum value to the people that are in most need. And you'll realize what I mean when we start talking with Andre. Andre, welcome to the show, brother.
It's great to be here, David. Really appreciate your time and to be able to discuss what we're doing with everybody.
Beautiful. Andre, can you please tell me your full name? Where do you live and what is it that you do for a living?
Sure. Andrew Sossin. And so I live in Hollywood, Florida. About a decade ago, more than a decade ago, I changed careers and lifestyles to be able to run Recovery Unplugged, which was Recovery Unplugged Treatment Centers and now Recovery Unplugged Behavioral Health, where we utilize music as a catalyst for therapy for those battling mental health and addiction issues. Though I'm based here in South Florida, we have locations in South Florida, Austin, Texas, Nashville, Tennessee, the DC metro area, and as of March next month, Charleston, South Carolina, and Southern New Jersey, as well as a full, amazing online program that we launched this year.
That's incredible. Number one, my apologies for mispronouncing your name. It's Andrew.
Well, it depends. My friends from Chile and my friend I was with this weekend from Argentina call me Andres. My friends from Israel call me Abraham, and my friends here call me Andrew. So you can call me whatever you like.
Sorry about, it's my Spanish background.
Yeah.
So Andrew, I know that you did not come up with this idea by yourself. I really appreciate what you do, by the way. Mental health is the number one reason why we all suffer in this world. It comes down to your mind, to your soul. And what you're doing is beautiful. Changing people's lives through help them recover from drug addiction and focusing on mental health, it's very important, because when I see somebody that has an addiction, what I see is the pain inside, right? They are trapped in their mental problems, and that creates the addiction because they need an escape from their suffering, right?
All day, every day.
Did you do this all the time? Like, how do you come up with this? Or, okay, let's do something. Tell me your life before, like, what did you go to school for? Let's jump back, when you were finishing high school. What was in your mind?
Oh, different world, different time. Growing up, I had always, wanted to be in business. I started my first business selling candy, passing out flyers for an insurance agency, worked at Baskin Robbins. I always had at least 2 jobs. I always had something that I was involved with. I'm very grateful that my best friend's dad was involved in the personal development world. And so I got to go to my first Zig Ziglar big event with my friend's dad, who was in Amway at the time. Started my own Amway business when I was 16. And so when I went to University of Florida, I went to get a degree in business. But while I was in school, I got my insurance license. I sold back then, before everybody had cell phones. I used to drive down to Miami, and I met with this gentleman that was selling prepaid phone cards. Because for some of the older people listening that are over 35, before you could just call anybody all the time, you had to actually like pay for it. And so I made a business out of selling these prepaid long distance cards and long distance plans. And then throughout college, I mean, for me, it was what can I do to learn and run my own situation. So I sold credit card processing, and then I had a group of people that were working for me at different on college campuses at Florida State, University of Florida, University of Central Florida, helping people sign up to get credit cards and build credit. Um, and then the insurance is what I really focused on throughout school. I dropped out of college 3 times. My wife, who was my friend at the time, had all of my information and kept re-enrolling me, even though I didn't want to stay. And so, my focus was always on, if I'm going to do something, I'm going to have to create it. I wasn't very good at working for others. I would like to, find ideas and work with others, not for others. And so, for me, that's what I did in college. And afterwards, I helped build an insurance agency in several states, as well as an outsourcing call center here in South Florida and then Santo Domingo and Trinidad. And then I had a funding company that funded personal injury cases. And so, it was one of those things throughout all of that. I was always working on personal development with the Tony Robbins world and the Jack Canfield world and Esther Hicks world. And my wife and I had several family members battling addiction. And we just were spending hundreds of thousands of dollars helping them. And so I made the joke that it'd be cheaper for me to open up my own treatment center than to keep paying for other ones. And when you make a joke like that after coming from a Tony Robbins event, it turns into something because you have to have action, not just words. And so, was fortunate enough, as I said to you when we spoke before, to meet some amazing people that had the idea behind Recovery Unplugged that I helped make a reality.
Now, Andrew, so what was your main business before you started Recovery Unplugged?
Insurance. I had insurance agencies. That's what was my main business. So I personally focused on the high-end life insurance, but we also did property casualty, health, all that kind of stuff. I had people that worked for me there and with me there as well throughout. I was licensed in about 40 states here in America.
So you had a very established, reputable business, and then all of a sudden you decide to shift your life around dramatically, right? But by following the mental health issue, right?
It was one of those things where at first I didn't know what I didn't know, and I was just going to help some people open up a treatment center because I figured it would be able to benefit, my own friends and family that were struggling, but it wasn't what I was going to do. I was going to help them start it. I was going to put up money. I was going to borrow money. I was going to help create the infrastructure, but it wasn't what I was going to do. And so very early on, I realized what we had, not only was it just amazing and different, but it was working. And with my own family members who had been to dozens of treatment centers over the decades, I saw a change, a real change. I didn't know it would last. Fast forward here, 10 years, 11 years later, everybody doing alive, well, clean and sober. I couldn't have imagined that. But very early on, I realized, okay, this is something that not only can help some people I know here, right? When we first started, we were small, outpatient center, helping 20, 25 people a month. And after the first 6-8 months, we started October 2013. In 2014 is when I really said, okay, I can't kind of help and do this, that, the other. I gave up everything I was doing to do this full time. It was the, I believe in risk. This was the biggest risk. We went completely all in on making this a reality on a bigger scale, and then we started to grow. And didn't, before that, I never had more than, when we had the call center here, 50 people. We grew Recovery Unplugged from 20 people to 50 people to 100 people to 200 people to 300 people to 430 approximately full-time, wonderful human beings helping to save lives every day right now.
That's beautiful, and such a different business model, right? Like if you were in insurance for the whole time and you had a good success there, has nothing to do with mental health and drug addiction recovery.
No.
How did you get your training? How? Because one thing is to have a side business, a side gig where you say, okay, if it doesn't work, I have my main business. Another thing is to burn all the bridges and say, I'm going to be doing this full time. How was that transition for you?
It happened as it happened. And so, the insurance agency is still there, but I haven't been there or been active. And so what I told the people there was, as long as I didn't lose money, there were several people earning a living from those businesses. I left them there. So I can't lose money, but you're making money from this. So continue on with it. With Recovery Unplugged, I brought in the right people. I am not a doctor and I'm not a therapist. And I'm not a musician. So, the original idea behind it with Paul Pellinger, who helped create the mental health and drug court system, and Richie Supa, who was the idea of the words Recovery Unplugged. Richie is an award-winning singer-songwriter that's written hits for the last 60 years, toured with everyone from Aerosmith to Hall & Oates to others in the 70s and 80s, and had his own addiction issues. So he had the idea when he wrote the song Amazing with Aerosmith. That's when the formulation of the idea for Recovery Unplugged came in. And then, Paul had this idea of using music and therapy. And then Marshall had introduced us with Rob Harrison. And so I brought the right people that were able to do the work that I couldn't do. So I had this amazing, world-renowned musician. We brought in our clinical director, our medical director at the time, Dr. David Kramer, an addiction psychologist. We brought in the best clinical director, the best team members, Rob Harrison, that had done this in New Jersey as the operations manager. And, for me, it was knowing what I didn't know, finding the right people that could do those roles. Now, it has been a complete roller coaster, as most situations are. We've had fights with insurance companies and been days away from insolvency twice. And what I learned a lot. But one of the things was, I think me and you had spoke about this, just because you're doing the right thing, doesn't mean it's always going to work or work how you envision it. And so as we've come up against these tremendous hurdles in growing and helping people, I had to take a step back more than once and really re-understand how to do what we do in a more fiscally responsible way. Because my goal is just let me go help everybody, right? That's what I love doing. I love helping people. And I will continue to do that. The other side of that is, without being, fiscally successful, without having that side of it handled, to the T, I won't be around to help other people. And so, balancing that has been the challenge over the decade.
Andrew, this is the mind of a true entrepreneur. A true entrepreneur has the who, not how mentality. And until you don't have that, if you're running a business, you're always going to be frustrated, burnt out, and most of the time not making much money. No. But when you use that mentality, when you say, okay, I'm going to do this business, I have no idea how to do it, but I bet there's people that really know how to do it. And then you apply the basic business skill sets that you already have from your insurance company. Then there is nothing but success, because every business needs sales, they need marketing, accounting, administration, production support, right? So business is the same, but what you're delivering is different, right?
Yeah, and that's the thing, is that, in this industry, different than others, right? 75% of all of our employees are people that battled addiction or mental health seriously in the past. And so one of the things I'm most proud of in what we've built here, not just the people whose lives we've saved, which is beyond incredible, and I'm truly grateful every day for that, but the people that we've developed I've given them careers. And so if I look at my director of admissions, my marketing manager, my billing director, our parent, I can count 7 people on our leadership team that were in our program 10 years ago, that were hit rock bottom, that were going to die, that not only got their lives back and their families back, but they're running divisions of our company now with 10, 20, 30 people working for them. And, that to me is just as powerful in renewing people's faith in themselves and their lives, and then giving them purpose in a career that's helped others.
That's beautiful. And how inspiring is that your graduates from your program are running the system now, right? I believe back when when I did the screening interview, you shared that you just got somebody that went through your program that became a Christian, and he wanted to apply your course in a Christian way, right? Like, can you tell me a little bit more about that? Because this is pretty much what you told me about the 7, right?
one of our leaders, when he got clean and sober, he did it through faith. And so when we launched our online program, we have an online program right now. So we have, just to take a step back, when people are detoxing, they come to our detox center and our residential center and then outpatient therapy. And when COVID hit, as horrible as COVID was, and it opened up the opportunity for this, right? We're on a Zoom right now. If you had told me in 2019 that we'd be helping people back then on Skype, I would have, I'm normally, I take risks, I see vision. I didn't see that. I wouldn't have believed that. And so because of COVID, we launched this idea about 1.5 years ago to help people in the outpatient setting. You still need to come in for detox wherever you are. But in the outpatient setting, we can reach people in rural Texas, rural Tennessee, rural Florida, or even people in the cities that they got families and kids and work, and they want to do outpatient therapy from home. And so we launched this program, very successful. We have hundreds of people in it per day, and we have separate programs for people battling addiction, people battling anxiety, depression, PTSD. And so Riley, came and said, look, I really believe we should have a program for people in those categories that's faith-based. And, we launched that a couple months ago. And so we have a handful of people in that right now that we still use the Recovery Unplugged method as music as a catalyst for evidence-based therapy with faith-based in that program that Riley created. And it's been growing since the day he started it. And then starting in about 2 weeks, we're doing all of our programs for people whose Spanish is the first language. We're launching a full Spanish-based program as well. And the idea is to be able to meet people where they're at. And so, if those people that have the belief and that want to have our program on the faith-based side, we have that. And for those people that Spanish is their first language, we have that. And for those people that, have a universal mentality feeling, we have that as well. And so the idea is to be able to offer what we offer to people that can relate to what we're doing.
That's beautiful, Andrew. It's incredible because I was just at church last Sunday, and I had a conversation with the worship team. And, so, we prayed together, and I had come to realize that music, why your system works? Because music is the language of the soul and the spirit.
100%. It is.
Isn't that incredible that if you listen a sad song, eventually you become sad. If you listen a pop song, you become, energetic and you want to work out, right? It's incredible, but you have to be very careful with what you listen to. And in your case, you're applying this beautiful language to heal people.
That is, people don't realize, almost all people that I've talked to, that, music starts when you're in your mother's womb, because the beating of the heart is actually the first music we're associated to. And so that's why everybody, when I heard that for the first time, I really had to stop and think. I was like, wow, that's true. And that's why we all have this connection which also could go the other way, right? There are people that have negative associations to music and people that have positive associations to music, and then different songs can mean different things, which is one of the reasons why, in addition to a full evidence-based criteria, and when somebody leaves, if they need certain medications, I believe, and Recovery Unplugged believes wholeheartedly, and we have the data, that MAT works. Both types of MAT. Most people are familiar with medication-assisted treatment. We do that. We also do music-assisted treatment, and we combine the two. And so what I mean by that is, if somebody's coming in for detoxing, they will most likely need, if they're detoxing from alcohol, some value. But instead of 10 milligrams of value, we may be able to give them 5 milligrams of value and use vibrations and frequency from music, with the vibrations calm their body down. And then they get a little less medicine, a little more music, and it works. And when people leave our program, we give them musical prescriptions along with everything else. And that doesn't guarantee success. There is no cure or silver bullet. But what that means is that when somebody 6 months down the road gets into an argument with their spouse or their child or their work, instead of running to get that drink or that drug or getting sad or depressed, that positive trigger from the song that we prescribed to them, they'll play that. It will remind them to stay in the present, call their sponsor, go to a meeting. It will take them back to something that will allow them to process that better. And it's been truly amazing to see it work, which we have now for 10 years.
That's amazing, Andrew. It reminds me, when I go to my secret place to pray, I put worship instrumental music, and I go deep into prayer and meditation with the Lord. And I recently opened a channel in September, faith-based channel. And one day I thought, I'm going to make a video just with words and music, but I'm going to put worship instrumental music. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to read from the book of Psalms. So I ended up reading Psalm 91, Psalm 23. And I'm telling you this is because I know you're familiar with, with the book of Psalms. So it was like 5 Psalms, and this is like an hour-long video. It's got over 90,000 views already.
Wow.
It's the highest ranking video that I ever produced.
It's amazing. Not surprising either, because people are searching. Today, people are searching for meaning. People are searching for spirituality. People are searching for connection, and that's something that people can relate to in the Psalms.
And it's the music, right? So it's the music that gets you, like, for example, when I get agitated or I get mad for some reason, I put on my headsets, put calm music, like worship instrumental, and just calm all the way down. If I don't want to go to work out, and I know I have to, I put some pop music in my ears, and then before I know I want to jump.
Listen, I don't care if it's 3 a.m, 6 a.m, 2 p.m. If you put on Rocky, because when I was growing up and I started working out and I attempted to play football, but it didn't work out so well, I separated my heel bone. But I played the Rocky music every day when I was a teenager trying to go out for the team. And so for the rest of my life now, you put that on. I don't care if I'm tired. I don't care if it's the middle of the night. I will be put in a state of being ready to go. And that's just that association was, over and over and over again ingrained in a positive way for me.
So throughout these years of your clinics and this beautiful business, what has been the toughest situation that you had to go through, and how do you come out of that?
So over the years, we were previously an out-of-network provider. And so the easiest way to explain it is when you have insurance, and you could go in-network or you go out-of-network. And if you go out-of-network, you could go see whoever you want, but you have to pay a higher deductible. So we were out-of-network for our first 8 years. And so one of our biggest challenges was, whoever they may be, insurance company that we were working with just decided to stop paying us for no reason other than they could. And so it ended up becoming a huge battle, which we won, but we were, days away. And this all happened at the same time with COVID. And we were days away from being gone. And so, for me, um, I believe in what we do. I guess at sometimes, to the detriment, though it's worked. But I did everything I told people not to do. I mortgaged my house. I emptied my kids' college funds. I took everything to the last cent to keep this all going, and we did. We ended up having to take on some a partner that was coming in to help us that had a different view of what things would be, and I'm truly grateful for them. Even though we did not see eye to eye, even though it was a tumultuous daily situation, um, we're here still because of it. And what that did for me personally is, just make me realize that just because you're doing the right thing doesn't mean it's always going to work. You still have to put yourself in the right fiscal responsibility and right position. Now, it did work. So, I do believe that, doing good and doing the right thing. And, there's a lot of things we could have done differently on the questionable side that I would never do. And so for me, it was always about putting the clients first, putting the clients second, putting the clients third. And if you do that, good things will happen. Doesn't mean my definition of good. And so even though it was extremely mentally challenging, even though, it was heart-wrenching to go through, it was something that made us stronger now, in just looking at everything that we were doing, becoming, more understanding of how we acquire our clients. And now we're in network with every insurance company. So we went from an out-of-network provider to now we're in network with every insurance provider. We signed contract with TRICARE for active military, the VA for veterans, and Medicaid, because we were able to prove, our method is really works. Again, there is no cure or silver bullet, but our success rates are great. And so going through those challenges allowed us to come out stronger on the other side.
That is beautiful, Andrew. For a person that has so much experience in business, imagine you're meeting a 25-year-old kid and he has this passion to open his first business. What advice would you give a person like that?
Get the right mentors. And how do you know? The response to that would be, how do you know which one's the right ones? But find people that have done it before, or that you believe have done it before, and people that have integrity that you'd like to be around. One of the best things I learned as a kid with Steve Einhorn, brought me into the personal development world. When Zig Ziglar said, if you want to be successful, help somebody else be successful. And I've taken that my whole life. So I actually have, a couple of people in their 20s that have called me, my friends' kids, other people from the community that I've taken to lunch, and I do take the lunch here and again, just to give them, my views on what's going on. So I would always recommend, finding those people that are willing to give you, and again, if they're really successful, their time is limited. But if they believe in helping others, which a lot of successful people that I know do, they're willing to take that, once a month or once every quarter lunch to sit with you and talk to you. And that's what I would suggest, because today you can gain so much knowledge, just like this is going to be on YouTube. YouTube's fantastic. I use it myself. And for certain people in certain parts of the country or the world, they don't have access to people. So you may only have the resources like listening to your podcast. But I would say, if you do have people within your community that are successful, don't be afraid to reach out to them. Don't be afraid to ask them for, that lunch. Be respectful of their time. Maybe it's a breakfast, maybe it's an afternoon coffee. But I would say, for me, finding other people and explaining to them what you're attempting to do and listening to what they have to say will make the world of difference between not just success or failure, but it may save you a decade of banging your head against the wall.
For sure. And this is true. Talking back about Zig Ziglar, I found an audio tape recorded about 5 years ago, and it was like 8 hours, and I probably heard it like 20 times. Mm-hmm. And he was probably one of the most wise advisors that I ever heard that I didn't see in person, you know. And I knew he was training salespeople at the beginning, but a lot of things that he said resounded. And you know, I lost. So as you know, I'm a born again Christian, but I lost my faith for about 30 years. When I came back to my faith a couple of years, I was started reading the Bible, which I never read before, and I started looking at what he was saying, and every single concept was in the Bible.
Yeah.
Incredible. You know, for example, when he was saying, you know, you have, I remember he said, if you want to be successful, you want to feel successful first. So go to a fancy hotel. You don't need to rent a room. You should go there and have a coffee in the fanciest hotel in town. And look how people operate in that stage. Look how they like feel the environment, and then try to imagine that you're gonna be there one day. And then I go back to the book of Proverbs, and what does it say? You know, you are what you think.
What you think.
The power of your thoughts, right?
And that's also extremely important, you know, to add, whether you're 25, 35, 15, 85 years old, is what you put in, right, also comes out. And so if you want to, you know, end up in a successful way, not only do you have to act a successful way, you have to put into your mind, you know, and so on a daily basis, you know, as I told you, I pray every morning. And if that works for people, I suggest it. In addition to that, I listen to, you know, different things every morning from different people to help get my mind going with positive incantations. And I end my night every night as well with things that I want to put in my mind. And so, you know, I'm a human like everybody else. So I don't watch that much TV, but I have watched shows on Netflix like everybody else. But it's funny to me when I talk to people sometimes and they tell me they're not feeling so good and they're not sure what to do. And then I ask them, you know, how they start their day, how they end their day, and what they did. And if they just told me that they spent 16 hours binge watching, you know, a silly show, and they're wondering why they can't get their mind right, you know, that's one of the things you can still enjoy. Right? I enjoy watching, you know, sports, but if you have those daily rituals every day and the daily practice every day to put things into your mind, and again, you know, your conscious and subconscious, for that matter, is, you know, most vulnerable right when you start the day, right at the end of the day, right? And so if you put the right things in there, I say prayer every morning, I say prayer every night, and I put a few things in there, not long, 5 minutes, but that 5 minutes each morning and each night, you know, helps my brain focus in the right direction.
Right, because that's so smart. You know, people need to know that they have the power to control their brain and their thoughts.
Because other people are trying to control it for us. There's a lot of people, there's a lot of information attempting to control what you think. So as long as you're conscious of that and realizing that you can determine what you see, listen to, read about.
And if you want to, I mean, if you're an employee, you can kind of get by not controlling your thoughts too much. But if you're an entrepreneur, if you're not in control of your thoughts, you're gonna die miserably.
It's scary because it's the truth, because it's lonely, right? It's lonely because, you know, everybody wants the successful part, right? Obviously, but I've never met anybody where it worked, right? There's always going to be trials, tribulations, and challenges on a daily basis. So if you know that ahead of time, right? And I'm human, so are you. So you can still get slightly frustrated, but you know, my 45-year-old self, I'll be almost 45 soon, but my 25-year-old self would get a lot more frustrated. Right now, I still get frustrated, but I understand it's coming. So I'm able to deal with it more, process it more, use a little more Tai Chi, instead of fighting what comes, let it flow through and redirect it. And to me, that's just the key of being an entrepreneur, because, once you get here, it's not so friendly all the time. There are people that want to see you succeed, and I'm grateful to be part of different groups of entrepreneurs and very successful people that want to help each other. But then there's a lot of other people out there that, they don't want to do the work, so they want to knock you down.
I know, and it's crazy because if everybody had the idea that what you reap what you sow, and that's a spiritual law that is unbreakable, there will be a lot better people in the world. Because if you know that whatever you throw is going to come back to you. And again, another biblical, another Bible-based law that you can see it everywhere. And it works for the people that believe and for the people that don't believe. The Lord says that He sends the sun and the rain on top of everybody.
Everybody gets
right?
it.
So, once I realized that, it's like, I'm trying to do good, of course, unconditionally, but also I know that good is going to return back to me. For example, this podcast, right? Just let's talk about this, right? I have the blessing to have the freedom of time. What do I do with that? I interview people like you to add value to your life. But who gets the value first? I do, because now I know all your beautiful, expert wisdom that you just shared. I'm going to bless my audience too with your wisdom, but I'm already getting enlightened because every single person that I interview has a little different age to life that I never seen before. And so it's a clear example how this law works, right?
We're all experiencing our own reality. And so, one of the great things that I've become aware of is that you and I could literally look at the same exact what we believe to be situations, see two very different things. And so respecting the idea that two people could see the same thing and see something different doesn't mean that you have to agree with what somebody else is seeing, but knowing that just because you see it doesn't make it that way. That's something that's taken me decades to appreciate in everything that we do, right? And so I'm always doing my best with our team to look at, okay, I saw this. What did you see? What can we do differently? How can we help more people in a more cost-effective way? That's what I try and think of almost every day, right? Because to me, it's now that we have this online program, we have our new centers, we have all these contracts with every insurance group. Okay, I need to be able to help more people. I have the ability to now. We have but how do I reach them, right? And so I may think we should do this, and then I have 5 other people tell me, no, Andrew, you're looking at it like this, but we should do these things instead. Okay, let me think about that. Whereas sometimes, just because you're the CEO or the founder doesn't mean that you have all the answers. And what I've been saying for the past 6 months, because we've gone through some growth now and expansion, is what got us here will not get us there. Yeah. Where we are going to be by December of 2024 and really 2025 is a completely different operation than the Recovery Unplugged of the last 10 years. And I would not change even the challenges that we went through to get here over the last 10 years. But we have to up our game, up our thinking, refocus our mentality to be able to, what works for a place that's helping 20 people is not going to help work for a place 200. And now we're at a little under 500 people a month that we're, 500 people a day that are in our care, right? And I want that number to be 1,000 by the end of the year. And so, it's the mentality of what we see, how we see it, and how we can see it in a bigger way that I'm open to as well.
It's beautiful, Andrew. Time has flown by. It's almost the top of the hour. And I really want to thank you so much for your time, but I don't want to abuse it. I'm going to ask you one last question before we finish the podcast. If you had access to a billboard in front of the busiest highway on earth, what would you write in it?
The first thing that comes to my mind is that everything is going to be okay. Because I think a lot of people need to hear that right now. What I say to myself and my team is to keep moving forward, always. So I believe that keep moving forward works if you already believe that there's something to move forward for. But when you ask me that question right now, in the world we're living in the political environment, in the social environment that I see, because I travel to Texas and Tennessee and the DC area, and I just see different people, different walks of life. I think right now, today, people are a little anxious. They're a little concerned. Everybody's less hopeful than I've seen in the past. And so I would just, because of where I live, I believe and know that there will be a good, positive future, and we're going to help create it. But for others, I would say, I'd put on there that everything is going to be okay.
Thank you so much, Andrew. For sure, very wise words that we need to hear. That's why I don't watch the news anymore, but I still get to hear what's going on. And
Yeah, of course.
Since the war started in Israel, since that horrific attack on innocent people in Israel, my heart broke down. And like I said, I don't watch the news because I take care of what goes in here, right? But I can see the same thing, Andrew. Everywhere. It's not only North America. Like right now, I'm in Guatemala for a while. Hiding from the winter. And
I
people here
understand.
are the same way. Like they feel like something weird is going to happen, something bad is going to happen. It's like this anxiety that people
Yes.
have. So yeah, we need to pray more and be more hopeful and be more positive for sure.
I agree. I'm going to do my best each day with the people around me to keep that message going.
Andrew, if people would like to find out more about how they get into your program that might be struggling with mental health or with addiction,
yes,
how can they find you?
Sure. Recoveryunplugged.com. We have a 24-hour life-saving center, 24/365 in English and Spanish now, to help anybody that needs. So they could go to recoveryunplugged.com on our website. We're on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, TikTok. Our TikTok videos are cool. They're fun music videos. However, if people want to call, they can call us, 1-800-55-REHAB. And for some of the younger people that just like to text, they could text us, they could chat us, they could, we're available at allthingsrecoveryunplugged.com.
Fabulous. Andrew, thank you so much. Please keep helping the world the way you're doing it, and have a beautiful rest of the week.
Yes, you as well. And I greatly appreciate the ability to talk with you here.
Blessings, Andrew. Cheers.
Thank you.
That's all for today's episode of the Break Free Podcast. Head on over to iTunes and subscribe to the show. Starting your own business can be tough, but it doesn't have to be. Visit davidmansilla.com to pick up a copy of the #1 international best-selling book, Breaking Out of Corporate Jail. Expand what you consider to be possible and reach your full potential. And join us on the next episode.